one of the things that with the new NCAA rules and guidelines, the part that you obviously lose out is the effect of a double-day practice. And a lot of times on double-day practices in our program in past, we've used that a lot to bring along developmental players. And talking with the NFL people, when they went to this model of just one-a-day practices, they try to do everything they can to maximize the developmental time for guys that are in their first through fourth year in the NFL. So kind of using that same principle here to try to get a little bit of extra time at the end. We may go back and repeat. For instance, today we went back and repeated a team period that the 1s and 2s ran pretty cleanly, but our 3s and 4s need to get out there and get more reps. So that's kind of why we did that. But I was really excited today. Obviously, the first day they're flying around, good tempo, kind of what you would expect. Our players that have maturity, guys that have experience, we're very locked in, very few errors. A lot of really good things with that group. 2s, again, mixed bag. Guys that have played can do some good things, but overall the emphasis on what we've talked about was really good. Thought ball security for the first day was pretty clean. Had some center exchange issues, but that was with first-year players and for a quarterback that really hadn't been under center all that much in his career, so that can be easily corrected. Really only noticeable changes, you probably saw Dylan Hayes moved over to – did that get by you, Nate? Usually you're all over that. Well, I'm not going to talk about that if you guys ever bring it up. Yeah, we switched Dylan over to defensive line. Just been very, very impressed with him since he got here. A year ago we redshirted him, and just the tenacity that he plays with, the effort, the energy. We're a little bit thin on the D-line, especially as we get closer to the center. So it does two things. First, it gives us an opportunity to get Dylan on the field, or the opportunity for him to show us that, and then also allow us to rep Jonathan Marshall a little bit at defensive end. So a little bit of a double-edged sword there that I think is a positive thing. A guy that was with us in summer school too that I removed from the 105 just in the last 24 hours, Josh Paul. He's fully qualified. He probably didn't notice he was out there. Did I get that one by you too, Nate? God dang, I'm getting good. So he can join us at some point, but we just need him to focus on academics and just doing things a little bit better. Again, no issues, wasn't anything involving with anything other than the expectations in our program to do them a little bit better. So he'll lock in, I think, and be good in that regards. Alexi's here on campus. He wasn't in the 105. Should be right about when we go back to school. He might be able to get back out on the field in some limited form. So again, his is nothing conduct or social. It's just health-wise there. So Dre and Jay Red, both guys that have played a lot of football, just aren't quite clear to go 100%. So they were out there at the beginning when you guys saw them. We limited them a little bit in team, but I saw Dre jumped in there at the end, so I think he's tired of that plan. I think he wants to get in there and mix it up, but we do got to be smart about the way we rep him. You know, and some of the new additions, it was the first time to see Gabe Richardson out there, and he's a very good athlete. The guy flies around. He's very coachable, played square shoulders. He's an older player, engaging, and it was fun to watch him a little bit. Gary Cross is a very explosive player. I watched one of the end-season testing competitions, and he did a one-step jump over a 60-inch hurdle it was pretty impressive. I mean, he's very athletic, and he can catch the ball, and he's very serious. I'm excited what he brings to the room. So really a lot of positive things. Caught a little bit of break on the front end. It was a little bit cooler than we expected. So guys handled the weather pretty well, but we'll jump back into it. And we'll really, because we're in this facet where we can't have too much going on with classes, we'll stick to this schedule pretty much for the first 9 days of camp here. That we got class conflict. A lot of it, we have 90% of our guys in classes right now, so we have to be respectful of that and have them have a strong finish this summer too before we really jump into the meat of camp and start doing opponent preparation after practice 9. So with that, open it up for questions.
David Williams was getting some one reps in the little focus.
Yeah, you know what we did a little bit. Bob, more than anything, is we kind of divided the script into 1s and 2s, and because of running back, we asked him to finish through 25 yards every play. We thought it'd be good with David and Devois to stay with the 1s, just a guy that knows exactly what he's doing. We could control the reps that David hasn't had a lot of reps at and sub him in there. And then Malik and Chase, and again, Malik knew our entire offense from being in the spring. We wanted to kind of space him and Devois out more than anything. It wasn't necessarily just that he's a 2 automatically. Or a 1 automatically.
You mentioned the 60-inch hurdle. Is that kind of an explosive?
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that can do that?
Yeah. Who do I see? I saw Jordan Jones do it. Who else? Gary Cross. Did Brito do it? I think Brito did it. Yeah. Brito did it. A couple guys attempted it, but Herb's always coming up with things. You know, we partnered. One of the things that I really give a lot of to Coach Buck, Coach Bucknam. I reached out to the track program after all the success they've had, and just said, here's somebody that produces world-class sprinters all the time. If they could come in and keep an eye on. So there's a little bit of crossover there with our coaching staffs, and our kids really liked it, and a byproduct of the summer, and I think some of that stuff related to that. Yeah, Merv, again, really, when we went back and looked at it after the entire collection of spring practices, he had he graded out the highest percentage. But I think other than, I think you could say that Sosa has locked up a starting end position. I think Bijan, I know you guys didn't see him, Bijan, Santos, Josh Liddell, and Armand Wass are all got class till 4 o'clock, so they're just getting out there when you guys are leaving, I believe. But I think Bijan and Austin Bijan and Sosa have kind of, they're our guys, and the rest of it's up in the air. But TJ's had a really good summer. TJ's a very productive player. He weighs 92 pounds and runs pretty well and is very intelligent. So I think him, Briston, Jonathan Marshall a little bit, and also a couple other guys could be in that mix.
Hey, Brett, what were the pads some guys were?
Yeah, you know, those really evolved. Even going back to my last couple years at Wisco, those were starting to come around. Believe it or not, it's, you know, it's kind of just an added protection, added layer of protection for our big guys that get continual reps. I'm sure you read a lot of the same things, that it's not necessarily the bigger hits, just a continual collision. So I used them quite a bit here. When we first got here, there was a little bit of a, can we use them? And because we had to get legal clarification because, you know, the helmet, anytime you modify a helmet could, you know, the guarantee on it, or the warranty, I guess. So we finally got clearance on that, and then we just kind of told the players we're going to put them on. If they don't want to wear them, they can opt out of them, but I'd rather have them on them. I went and watched Clemson practice in the spring last year, and, you know, their entire O-line, D-line had those on, and it's something just kind of has continued to grow in the world of college football, and I think something that's really positive. Phillips at linebacker. Oh yeah, outside linebacker. Yeah. Tyler, he did that as well in the spring. You know, I think at that outside linebacker, especially Carl Ressler actually kind of tweaked his hammy a little bit in that last week of programming, so we didn't want to throw him in there full throttle. Plus, we wanted to get a look at Gabe over there, so there's a host of guys getting reps through there. Yeah, we're working them at nose. Yep. Yeah, I tell you what, Gerard Barnes, he's another guy in reference to the 60-inch vertical. I think the very first weekend that they did it, he did it. Gerard is very smooth, very conscientious. Davion Warren is probably, I know some of those upperclassmen don't want to admit it, he's probably one of the fastest top 5 players on our team, probably speed and agility, very gifted. I think Coylan Jackson is a very talented player that's got size and maturity and his ability to get going a little bit in the right direction. And I tell you what, I mean, some of these older receivers that haven't got on the field yet, they better, you know, wake up, smell the coffee, because you know, if they don't perform right, those younger guys will go right by them. I don't need to. Doesn't take me long to figure out you've been here 3 years and you can't get it right. A guy that's been here 3 months can get it right. We'll make a move in a hurry.
When you guys get to go full pads and when you scrimmage on Saturday after?
Yeah, we'll do. So we're in helmets today, tomorrow. On Saturday, we'll jump into halfback. We won't scrimmage, but it'll be a significantly more physical practice, obviously. We'll go hard Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday will be the first day in pads. Wednesday, I hope to do like a kind of a heavy padded day, but do a lot of developmental work. Thursday, get good work. Friday, we'll back off them. Maybe just a little bit, because I want Saturday to be a great scrimmage. So we're really hoping to have great scrimmages on Saturday the 12th. I'm sorry, Saturday the 5th, Saturday the 12th, and then on the 17th probably might be the last time we do some scrimmaging, which will be 2 weeks out from our game. The neat thing about starting today, I could have started as early as Tuesday, I believe it was, but the length and the duality with summer school, I didn't want to jump into it till today, and we're 5 weeks out from the game, which I think is a neat perspective to look at.
You said you took Paul for 105. Who'd you add into the
Collins, Ty Collins. I'm one of those coaches now. You know, he used to make fun of Hayden Fry. He couldn't remember coach plays' names.
Are you good, totally good with the way the spacing out practices and not doing too many practices with that?
I am, you know, so I think Murph, what I did more than anything is this model had been handed down to us a little bit from kind of in a way from the NFL. So, you know, I really it just got so many connections, reached out to the way that different people are handling it. And the one overriding theme was to try and get your developmental players as many opportunities to have learning experiences on the field as you physically can within the NCAA rules. So it's fun, it's unique, you know, so I have we call that at the end, we call it edge work, right? So I believe in the 5 edges of our program, and the first one is a relentless mentality and physicality, and there's no better way to stress them than at the end of the day when they're tired, to stress them mentally and physically at the last part of practice. So that's a big one. And then, you know, we talk our 5th edge, you earn everything daily, and I want them to know walking off the field they just earned, you know, an extra opportunity to get better. So I'm going to continue to press that and make our guys better. Jalen, yeah, that probably stems more out of just trying to get our better players on the field, and he really performed quite a bit better, especially on the right side. He's not ambidextrous. He likes the right side a lot better than the left, and he likes to guard a little bit more. So, you know, the thing about Jalen, he's in the 3rd year of our program, but he really only had, I believe 2 years of high school football overall, you know, so he's still a young player by maturity-wise and how long he's played football, and I get excited about him, does a lot of really good things. We just got to get him to buy in full scale.
You mentioned your defensive linemen. Just kind of, where are your 2 offensive tackles, Wallace and Jackson?
Yeah, I think the 5 that you saw out there at the beginning of the day, you know, Colton Jackson's had a really, really good spring and summer. Yelda is just – I'm so excited for him. I think our move there not only is a great move for him, but it's a life changer. I think he's going to be an exceptional football player. Frank is playing really, really well at right guard. Johnny Gibson has kind of taken it and owned it. You know, I got on him a little bit during the winter last year, and he's really shown a lot of maturity in everything he's doing, and I'm there. Brian Wallace, I think if you asked a lot of guys, especially the old linemen, who made the biggest jump this summer, I think B-Wall would be a guy that would get a lot of votes. Just looks different in everything he's doing, his confidence level, his just everything. It's pretty impressive. Then I said, okay, not that those top 5 are set in stone, but who's the next wave? And I think at tackle, you know, we got to find it out. Paul Ramirez has had a really nice summer, has done some nice things, but then I wanted to give who's our next best guard, you know, and I think that Jalen can be that guy. If he can't beat out Johnny Gibson, he could maybe be that 3rd guy, or maybe at Zach Rogers popping out, or Jake Rollerson was getting reps at both tackle and guard as well. Jake's kind of our Swiss Army knife, you know, he kind of does it all. He literally can play all 5 positions.
Earlier this week, you were complimentary of 5 stories work. I know it's only one day, but where that.
Great point. I think you can continually see the confidence that Ty is throwing the football with. You know, he really was a guy that changed his throwing style a little bit from to the recommendation of our somebody else, that it didn't work with him, and so we've kind of continued to work that out of him, and he's really throwing the ball. Had a nice, great couple reads and throws today. Kids like him. He's very intelligent. Comes from a football family. I mean, his pops, obviously, with his background and everything he is, and what he did at Charleston to win so many games, you knew it was going to come out sooner or later. And there's a really good thing going on between him and Cole Kelly.
Who made plays in the team periods today?
You know, I would say, you know, I was walking in and I yelled, C.J. O'Grady, and he like got scared and came over to me, and I go, that's the first time I said your name all day. I said, in the years past, I've had to yell at him a couple times, so I think he did some good things and didn't stand out for the wrong reasons, which I think is a step in the direction, right? Grayson Gunner, Grayson and him are, it's going to be a nice little compliment to one another with Austin. I will say this, Jeremy Patton can play the game, does some good things. Will Gregg did as well. I think at wide receiver, those young wide receivers I just talked about, David Williams looks like he belongs, you know, in the SEC and can be a good player in our program. Malik looks good. Chase Hayden's a difference maker. Whether or not he's that this year, but he's going to be a guy that plays well in this league. I think defensively, Josh Liddell made a pick. Santos made a couple nice plays. Ryan Pulley made a play break up. And then up front, just because we're not in pads, it's hard to see O-line, D-line stand out, you know.
Was Patton behind the other guys just because he got here so late?
Yeah, the one thing I will say this, he is into football, you know what I mean? So every morning I know I would come in and Barry and him would have a meeting at 7 or 7:30 before he had his 8 o'clock class. I mean, every day he was in here for the last 3 weeks. He's engaged. I know Austin said, hey, he grabbed him like the first 5 days he was here. You want to watch film together? I mean, he knows his window is short, and he's pretty conscientious, you know, and we went through grade report today, and he's got 2 A's. I said, we got to send more guys to Arizona Western. He's like an academician honor roll student. Just, again, a great indication of when you're in the right environment and what you can get done if you just buy in, and he's showing that.
Does he show athletic ability?
Jeremy Patton? Yeah, he didn't quite clear that 60, but we had I don't know what the hurdle was, but he was the only guy over 250 that cleared it on our football team. So, I mean, and he was letting everybody know about it. He's not afraid to talk a little bit. So he's a fun one to watch.
After SEC media days, Arkansas was picked to finish 4th in the SEC West. What were your kind of thoughts about that?
You know, that, believe it or not, that's news to me. You know, so again, I love to read about things at the end of the year, not at the start of the year. And you know, I've said that coming off a program that had won 2 straight championships to a team that came out of 1, 3, and 9. So I really, if you voted for us, I guess thanks, but it doesn't really matter. I think the SEC that I've witnessed, obviously there's a team that's been able to do very well in our division year in, year out. They probably set the standard in this Western Division, and everybody else. A little bit is obviously scheduling. I like the way our schedule lays out. I think it's about staying healthy. I think it's about your seniors playing well, you know. I think if there's one thing I've learned in this profession, especially now in the SEC West, when you're older players that you've trained and developed for 3 or 4 years to come in and play good football, when they play their best football of their career, we play well. And there's some great examples of that since I've been here all over the place. Yeah, you know, just I literally have daily dialogue with him. I give Coach Richardson at Ashtown a lot of credit. He's probably tired of hearing from, I think he hears from me, Coach Lunny, EK, our academic people every day. He's taken a class that I believe, I want to say it finishes up next Friday. All of the qualifying test scores and everything are in, so it's literally waiting for this class to get done. It'll be about how fast it turns around. I think we've said that if we could get him here, you know, the earliest probably like middle of August, if it doesn't start for classes. I think the best we could hope for is maybe around that August 10th range, and the worst we could hope for is probably the start of classes if everything comes in the way we want it to.
I guess Saban was up there at ESPN doing interviews.
Who was?
Mm-hmm. He said he'd like a system where everybody in the Power 5 played all 12 games in this Power 5 team. So all your non-conference games would be TCU or whatever. Just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, Bob. I think if you are someone that's won several national championships, you can say whatever you want, and everybody's going to think it's right. So it doesn't do me any good to make an opinion. I will say this, you know, I really enjoy our TCU. I would say the TCU game a year ago, obviously we won it, but going into the game, I was very excited to play it. For us, nobody's asked me in here about playing Notre Dame. I mean, I've been trying to get that game going for long. I'm excited. It sets a feeling in our program that's pretty good. But I do think if the schedule, I'll tell you this. How about this? We'll throw this back at you. All right. If we go to the 14-game schedule where we get 2 bye weeks, I think there's some merit to that. All right. But in this league, I mean, I've experienced it. It's not like somebody that's just kind of throwing out hot air. I mean, there is a difference in playing in the SEC West. I saw some statistical things, and you know, how many games do we play in a row against ranked opponents? It's just sick. It's silly, you know. So if there's a 2-week break in there, then I can kind of see it. I know the fans would love it, but you also got to keep people healthy. I think you'd have to adapt maybe squad sizes a little bit. You'd have to adjust maybe this limitation of only letting us have 105 in fall camp. When we only have 105, you know, you carry a roster of 120. It just makes no sense for us not to have those kids on campus to help us participate right now, because now you got guys that are maximizing their reps trying to get on the field, but they also got to give look teams. So there's a little bit of everything going on.
Growing up in the Midwest, did you follow Notre Dame?
I followed what was ever on TV. We lived in one house with TV with we had one TV in the living room, and I was the remote. So I had to get up and change the channel when directed to. I guess Notre Dame was on quite a bit, but I honestly grew up kind of an Illinois fan. I was from Illinois, and then I converted to Iowa when I went, obviously. Indirectly came because I think Michigan kind of dropped us for Notre Dame. You know, it's weird how the whole world works, because now we're able to get back in that conversation. And the only thing I always preach about in those games is, well, I'll come play you in your yard. You just got to come play me in my backyard. And to get somebody to do that here is not easy to do. You know, Arkansas is a tough environment, and the way we can play, if we're playing the way we're supposed to, it's a matchup that a lot of people don't like.
What is the benefit of having 105 versus 120? Why can't those 15 kids?
You know, I think back in the day that it was a financial thing. I really do. I think when this went through, it was a way that back, you know, 10, 15 years ago when it got implemented, it was a way to cut costs for programs that weren't, you know, the Power 5 didn't exist, and you were trying to make it a level playing field. I remember hearing stories that certain programs had 200, 250, you know, kids in a college program, and they would have 4 different fields working, and it's a distinct advantage. So it was a way to kind of level the playing field. I think today, though, with Title IX, I think there's very few rosters that go over the 115 to 120 mark. We're at 120. I've heard 115 when I'm in meetings all the time. Don't hear many numbers over that. I think there are a couple that got 140, you know, somewhere in there. But for the most part, I think it was a cost-effective measure. And there's just so much money now, especially the way the Power 5 goes. And to be quite honest, it gives kids opportunities, you know. I got a chance to come in and be a part of the 105 thing. Didn't exist, and I came in and, you know, there were guys that were 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars that were in front of me, and all of a sudden I was in front of them just because, you know, recruiting isn't always exact, and there's examples of that all over the place.